Welcome back, you guys, especially those of you in the Pacific Northwest, because I've got a Subaru for you. They're inching so close to the STI with this one. It's the 2025 TS, and it takes some of the best bits from the GT model and combines it with a few STI catalog parts. Let's go for a drive. All right, so the first thing that's straight out of the STI catalog parts bin. So this parts bin makes it sound cheap and kind of throwaway. It's not, but the start button says STI on it. The second thing that says STI in here is the gauge cluster, right in the center of the tack. If I didn't know any better, I would be telling my friends if I just bought this was my first Subaru. Guys, I just bought the new STI, it's great. TS actually does stand for Tuned by STI. It's a WRX, so what's the same? Under the hood, the same 2.4 liter Boxer 4 turbo engine, the same 271 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque as it's been for years. Of course, the STI, the real STI, was dropped in 2021. That was the last year of the previous generation. And here the goal is, according to Subaru, to create just a more track-focused WRX. And spoiler alert, they have done it. They've successfully done it. Of course, it's a punchy mid-range engine, but it's a power band you would expect. It's a twin-scrolled turbo on a small-ish four-cylinder engine. So it's punchy. At times, dare I say, it feels like a naturally aspirated engine. The turbo spools up really quick, but that's more of just a byproduct of having a tiny turbo that doesn't carry a whole ton of boost. I think I've seen maybe 10 PSI. So it's not a whole ton. You get a shove, it's not fast. You know how many cars right now on sale that have no sporting pedigree whatsoever that have more power than this? A lot, and I'll put a few of them up on screen right now. We will go in first gear. Yeah, it pulls almost a red line. There is a flat spot, but it doesn't feel like it dips off at the top of the power band. Red line is 6,000 RPM here, so not quite as high as the previous generation. I said in the intro that Subaru took parts from the GT model, the Grand Touring model, so how is it more track focused? Well, they did take the adaptive dampers from that car, okay? But it's been tuned by STI. It is tuned a little bit stiffer, and this does reduce roll by 30% and pitch 55% when compared to the TR.
Wow, you can read the brochure.
I mean, it corners incredibly flat. If you've ever driven a WRX, it is exactly what you expect a WRX to be. And that to me is a good thing. You know, kids, you need to lower your expectations a little bit when we know there is no confirmed STI on the horizon, right? So this suspension alone is a huge improvement. It's definitely stiff. In this category, for the competition, the GR Corolla, I said, was a little bit too stiff to daily. The WRX, even with the suspension, feels like you could daily it in comfort mode. Now, it tightens up a lot in Sport Plus, so you've also got a custom individual setting. For my individual, I've got the engine in Sport, steering in Sport, which is, the best. It is, first off, this steering ratio, like how quick the steering rack is here. If you notice, I'm barely having to move my hands. It's just a little bit slower than the previous generation STI. But when you put the steering in Sport, it doesn't just feel artificial. A lot of cars will add in kind of an artificial heaviness. This just feels like it's taking away your assistance, which is so good. I mean, there's a ton of steering feel here. Occasionally, It'll kind of follow the ruts in the road a little bit, but it's not bad at all. This shifter feels better than a Golf R for sure. It's just less sloppy than it was. It's less sloppy than the Golf R shifter. It's got kind of a notch, not quite a click, but you never miss a gear. There's an exhaust pop. It's got these Recaros from the TR and the GT as well. I mean, the recipe remains, you guys. This has been a recipe for decades. The Recaros, the 6-piston Brembos, that's it. And it works like magic here. It is so fun to drive. All right, so another thing you might notice are these 19-inch wheels. Now, these come straight off of the TR. The TS actually replaces the TR, so if you want kind of a more track-focused setup, you do have to shell out the extra cash, and we'll get to pricing. But it does come with these 19s. Probably, if I had to guess, to fit the 6-piston brakes. They are huge. We got the Bridgestone Potenza S007s. These tires, I mean, you could tell, it's a little bit of a rubber band situation going on here. This is a case where bigger is not always better. I'd rather be riding on 18s, first off, just to look at, but I think it would improve the ride quality a little bit. Of course, we have these kind of the black plastic cladding. That's been on the WRX for a while, but I think we can all agree the previous generation WRX looked a little bit better. Now the rear end, more black plastic. It definitely looks better when it's not contrasting, like in this purple pearl right here. I think it looks all right. There's a lot going on back here though, a little bit too much for my liking. All it's missing, of course, is a huge wing and trunk space, quite a bit. Now, of course, in something like a Civic Type R, which is a hatchback, you're gonna get a lot more space back here, but the rear seats do go 60/40, and if I sit back there but behind myself, there's a ton of room. Not so much headroom, but leg room. There's a lot of it back there, and of course you've got heated seats as well. It also takes the digital display, the digital gauge cluster from the GT. So if I hit these buttons on the steering wheel, I can bring up a boost gauge. Okay, I was wrong, not 9 pounds. My peak has been 12.2 pounds of boost. So not nothing, but not a lot. You can bring up your map on this display as well, although it only brings up the native maps. What's the native map? I couldn't believe this when I turned it on. It's powered by TomTom. I don't know about you guys, I had no idea TomTom was still a company, but they power Subaru's navigation. It's fine, it works. It's a little bit dated, and we do have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay here. That's awesome, love that. But when I bring up my Google Maps in Android Auto, it doesn't transfer the maps onto the screen here. So to get the screen right here in front of me, I have to be using TomTom. Thank you, TomTom. Everything you touch, like leather-wrapped steering wheel, leather-wrapped shift knob, a proper handbrake. Thank you, Subaru. The Recaros, awesome. You know, we've got Alcantara on the dash. Crazy bright blue accent, which is cool. I like that Subaru is still not afraid to kind of bring in some of that flamboyance. We do have a little bit of fake carbon fiber there. I could do without that. No wireless charging though. Civic Type R has it, GR Corolla has it. Of course, the Integra Type S has it. So that's one thing that's kind of missing. It does have an aux input though. That is crazy. This Starlink setup here for their infotainment, it looks okay. It works perfectly fine. If I had to bet, this looks identical to the StarCraft font in the early StarCraft games. You know, it just doesn't look the greatest, but in functionality, all your climate control is on the bottom here. I have this button in the corner set for AC, but you can change that to sync or whatever you want. Of course, we've got heated seats here, but yeah, your defrost is a physical button. Your temperature is, it's easy to use. Like, I can't fault it for anything other than it just looks a little bit dated. Yeah, brakes, absolutely one of the high points here. Not only is there an incredible amount of stopping power for 271 horsepower, but the feel is incredible. The pedal travel is short. but you can still modulate it. Like, it's a heavy pedal travel, but there's so much feel. At the same time, light to light kind of in traffic, they're not touchy, so there's no compromise there either. What we really want is a flap in the exhaust. I want more of this rumble to come through. On cold start, it's loud. And actually, that's one of the downsides inside the cabin. When you cold start it, of course, it's sitting at about 1600 RPM. It drones. So if you're gonna cold start this car, I would get into the habit of cold starting and getting out and just listening to the exhaust note for a second, and then get back in so you don't have to deal with the drone. It's just not loud. It's not really an exciting sound at any point. This goes with all the competition. The Golf R, Civic Type R, Integra Type S, GR Corolla, none of those sound like anything special. I don't know how this is possible. Like, thank you, Subaru, for still building a manual transmission, fun, daily drivable spoorts sedan, but none of these cars sound like anything. We don't get like exhaust pops, turbo spool. There's not much of anything. The Type R sounds incredibly fake, all that fake noise pumped in, so like at least this doesn't have that. Okay, but for those of you who are waiting for a new STI, what separates this, okay? Why isn't this a real STI, right? Well, it doesn't have a center differential controller, right? In an STI, you'd be able to, shift the torque front to rear. You'd be able to play with the aggressiveness of the center diff a little bit. On top of that, this does not have LSDs. These are both open diffs, front and rear. It does do brake-based torque vectoring, which if you're pushing the car, you can feel it just a little bit, especially on the front inside wheel to kind of help tuck the nose in. It works. It's fairly seamless, but if you're looking out for it, you can feel there's a little bit of computer wizardry going on.
Oh my God, what the fuck?
And so I just think about the GR Corolla and what they did and that trick all-wheel drive system there, which is effectively pulling torque. It's got clutch packs and everything, but in the earlier cars especially, you'd be able to shift the torque rearward, and it comes with LSDs. So to me, I'm like, we gotta kind of say the quiet part out loud here. The GR Corolla is more of an STI than the WRX is. But I think not having proper diffs here, not having a center diff controller here, it's not as big of a deal as you would think. For most people, you're not really gonna notice the difference here. The brake vectoring is doing a stellar job in keeping everything in check. Now price, the TS is a $50,000 vehicle. In Canada and the US, there's a couple $1,000 difference there, but it kind of slots itself right in the middle between a GR Corolla and a Golf R. Subaru, yes, you need to bring the hatchback back. All of its competitors are so much quicker. A Civic Type R is so much quicker in a straight line. Even a GR Corolla with one less cylinder. But this is only a couple $1,000s less than an Integra Type S. Now, if you can stretch, if you're already willing to hit that 50K mark, personally, I would just stretch and get an Integra Type S. I enjoy that driving experience a little bit more, and it's a little bit better for daily driving. More space, stuff like that, and a lot more power. The downside, of course, is no all-wheel drive, but I tried not to get into this car and just consistently think about what could have been, what an STI would have felt like, because you're just robbing yourself of like a great driving experience. I think we need to thank Subaru for still building a manual transmission sports sedan that we can all rally behind, no pun intended. Like, it's so tough not to love this car. Thanks guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you soon.